This section heading is called Reflecting Session Information. So we saw inside of Lab 5 in the Remote Reflected Cross-Site Scripting section how we could use a single script element that would enable us to send session information to a specific location. What we're going to do in this section here is we're going to demonstrate that we could use two different script elements to do the same exact thing. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to log in as root. Once inside of here, we'll review both of those script elements that I was just referring to. So these are located inside of a file within our home directory. So what I'm going to do to view them is I'm simply just going to print them within the terminal. So here's both of the script elements. Now, if you can recall the element that we used inside of Lab 5, it was using the document.write property along with the document.cookie JavaScript property to display the session information, which is our session ID, on the collection server. So basically, these script elements are pretty much the same way, in the same sort of structure, right? So kind of highlighting what their purpose is. So inside of Lab 5, that document.write property, it was used or could be used to update an HTML document. However, our document.location JavaScript property, what this is typically used for, it's used to redirect a web page. So we're saying that we're looking to redirect a web page at this location. However, we're not going to have any web page in our web services directory when we start up our Python module that we're going to do in a moment. So what's going to happen here is we're actually just going to get a directory listing. Now, when used in coordination with our document.cookie, it's going to not only display the session information inside of our collection server, but also within that directory listing web page that we're going to see on the client side. Now, moving down to the next script element, where it's kind of like an element inside of an element, because we've got the script element and then we've got the HTML image element on the inside. Now, what this is typically used for is to load a new image. So we're looking to load a new image on our web page that's at this location. Now, once again, when using this in coordination with our document.cookie JavaScript property, this is going to display the information over to our collection server. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're just going to verify that this IP address is in fact on one of our interfaces on the system, and we can see that it is. So now we're going to use that Python module, which is essentially going to enable this web server on all interfaces and have a server listening port of 8000 by default. So we're just going to type simple and then HTTP and then server. So now when looking at these elements, just like we did inside of Lab 5, we're going to need to encode them. Notice that we have the plus character over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the top one. I'm going to right click, copy, and then I'm going to minimize the terminal. We're going to go inside exploits, inside of Lab 6. Here's encoder.html, right click, open with other application, Iceweasel, select. So now I'm going to click in the text area, Control V, encode, click in the text area again, Control A, Control C, new tab, yourbank.com. Here it is down here, and there it is up there. So I'll just click this. And now we'll define our variable inside the URL. So we're going to say my username equals, and then Control V. Enter. Here's our directory listing. Here's the session ID displayed on the web page right here. Notice that the session ID is also visible within the URL. And if we want to verify that it's on the collection server, we'll go over to the terminal, and then inside of there, we can see, in fact, we are collecting it. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing with the other one, and we'll just verify that this one works as well. So once again, we are seeing that plus character, so we're going to encode this. So I'm going to right-click, copy, minimize, browser, encoder, Control V, Control A, Oh, sorry, not Control A, encode. Then click in there, Control A, Control C, back over to here, and now page back, my username equals, and then Control V. Hit enter. We see nothing happens here. We can minimize and then go into our terminal, and we can see within here, once again, we're successful.